Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Surface. Hey everyone, my name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Surface Season 1. Special thanks as always to our friends at AppleTV Plus Canada for giving us the opportunity to watch these episodes early for review. Before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for this review is, he's my friend he's so much more under the surface. He's Justin Lawrence. How you doing tonight?
That was a stretch. I'll tell you. I'll give you that. So
this show is a little bit of a stretch for me personally. I didn't think it would be, but before we get this review underway, Justin, I got to ask: do you have any traumatic fears? Anything that has ever kind of like what a lot of people are afraid of the water? We see the main character Sophie in this series is obviously afraid of the water based off her experience. Do you have any like kind of big fears that people might think are a little bit strange or irrational?
No, I don't think that there's any fears that I have.
You're not afraid of anything.
No, I'm afraid of a lot of things. I'm actually racking my brain trying to figure out which of the many things that I'm afraid of. Is it falling endlessly from the sky, from a plane?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have phobias. I think my biggest one is obviously water.
Yeah.
Especially open body water. Not a good swimmer, and that would definitely be a fear of mine. So, pools are fine; they're contained.
Yeah,
but you know me with roller coasters and rides. I'm a tall person. I have a great sense of vertigo, and I get queasy with heights and stuff. The
taller they are, the harder they fall. That's what they say.
That's what I've heard.
Dude, I had my first nightmare in the longest time. I fell asleep watching the show last night. I was kind of watching the rest of it, and I woke up this morning. I guess it wasn't a nightmare. It would have been a morning mare or whatever you want to call it. But I fell back to sleep, and dude, I had a really vivid dream of drowning in a car, like being in a car that went over the side of like a road in San Francisco and literally going down and down. It freaked me out, dude. I was really freaked out. I wish I had felt as much emotion watching this show as I did after having that dream. But yeah, man, that's I've never been afraid of the water before. So kudos to this show for at least giving me a morning mare. Okay, let's get this review underway. I'm going to tell you the description for the show. Set in high-end San Francisco, Surface centers around Sophie, a woman who has suffered a traumatic head injury that has left her with extreme memory loss, believed to be a result of a suicide attempt. As Sophie embarks on a quest to put the pieces of her life back together with the help of her husband and friends, she begins to question whether or not the truth she is told is in fact the truth she has lived. Through twists and turns and a shocking love triangle, this sexy elevated thriller asks, what if you woke up one day and didn't know your own secrets? Surface is a story of self-discovery which contemplates if we are pre-programmed to become who we are or if we choose our own identity. The show stars Gugu Mbatha Raw, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Stephen James, and Ari Grainer, and is from showrunner Veronica West, produced by Reese Witherspoon and Lauren Neustatter's Hello Sunshine production company, which you might know for The Morning Show, and is streaming on Apple TV Plus starting on July 29th, 2022. Justin, I mean, as you can already tell by some of the digs that I've already been or I guess splashes, I don't know, that I've already been making towards this show. Obviously we laugh and we have fun. This show does cover some really heavy subject matter. I don't know if it necessarily does the best job of actually dealing with that. But before we start getting into some of the negative stuff, I want to start positive. I think for me, I thought the music of the show was actually really well done. Fits the theme of the show really well. Helps to kind of give a little bit more depth to the atmosphere of the show. I think where it might lack in some of the visuals, which I'll get to later, the music definitely does kind of add a very sort of haunting through point in the show. So shout out to composer, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Olivier Arnalds, who's an Icelandic music producer or composer. And he does like a really good mix of strings and piano. And so, I dig the music in the show.
Yeah, for a psychological thriller, which what the show is, the music is really great at, as you said, adding depth and adding a little more personality to these more mysterious moments and even the more emotional moments as well. The music would go from foreboding to very tense, and it just had great range. So I would give music a good score for this series. Also, there was a great sense of production design in this movie. I think their house was its own character, especially the way it looked along the streets of San Francisco. So I really liked the production design that went into this series. I also think some of the cinematography wasn't too bad. That effect of tilt shift where small portions are in focus and large elements are out of focus. It started strong, and I liked it. I liked how they were using it in specific moments with the music as well. But I think over time, even though the cinematography is really good, that tilt shift effect, it just got overused and it got played out and it just lost its purpose and felt generic. And, again, like as I was saying, it started off strong. It really helped with building the mystery with Sophie discovering things. It made sense to have that effect sort of pop in and, things not being so clear. And
like it started off being something that kind of, I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's visually, the story is helping me as a viewer to understand how Sophie kind of sees the world and how it is blurry. And I thought that thematically they were going to carry that through and maybe do it like sort of have it really heavy at the beginning and then less and less and less as she starts to learn more about her own story and her own past life before the accident. And it just didn't. There were moments like where things were perfectly clear for her, and then they still use that effect. So I think you're right. I think it was a little bit misused, but you saw where what they were going for. And I think I wanted to kind of, you mentioned Sophie. At one point in the show, Sophie's husband says she shines so bright. And I think the same can be said about Gugu Mbatha-Raw here, whose I think performance is really great in the series. I think she shows a really great range throughout the show as Sophie struggles with her various emotions and she discovers more about her past. I feel like she's out acting every single other person in this show for the most part. Like I just felt there was such a misbalance because a lot of the other characters, they're played really one note throughout the entirety of the season, and I never really felt invested in any of them. I don't know. Like I think Gugu Mbatha-Raw is fantastic in the morning show. I think she's better in that than she is in this. I think a lot of that has to do with the writing that she's given as well. So she does with what she can in this show, but I don't know, man. I just even for the character of Sophie, I wasn't entirely engrossed outside of a few moments.
Yeah, I think if we're now trying to transition to things that didn't work, I love Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and I think the cast did the best that they could altogether with what they were given.
Right.
I just think this story was overly convoluted. It felt like it was being stretched
so much
to fit 8 episodes. I think this could have been a movie more than anything else. Oliver Jackson Cohen, who plays Sophie's husband, he very much embodies what you're talking about with that one-note character portrayal that he had. Like he was just always sad and angry. I get it. Like the series is about Sophie and her journey and unraveling the mystery. So Gugu Mbatha-Raw, she does have to outperform everyone. She does have to carry the series, if you will,
right? With
all these other characters serving as supporting, and that's what they did. They just supported. I don't think anyone really turned out looking good here.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think that this story was as fleshed out as it could have been,
or as the description makes it seem to be. Like even reading that description just now, which that's the first time I read that description, I'm like, what show is that? Like, I want to watch that show because that sounds fantastic.
But even that doesn't sound like a show. This doesn't sound like a show.
Right.
This description sounds like a movie.
More of a movie.
I honestly believe that this probably would have been better as either a 2-hour movie or a 4-episode series. Like this could have been
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something a little bit more concise, because story just doesn't feel like it's nearly as fleshed out. It feels like it's being stretched to accommodate 8 episodes rather than looking at the story and saying, well, how many episodes do we really realistically need to tell this? I just feel like that's the shortcomings of this series.
Well, no, and I completely agree, and I think the even the progression of each episode felt really strange, and I was kind of we were talking about this off air, but like we would get to 8 minutes left in the episode, and it wouldn't, like, what was going on is just 2 characters talking quietly. Like, it wouldn't feel like we're near the end of this week's episode, if you will, right? Like, okay, this is going to be the big thing. Oh, we're in the last scene of this episode. It's going to be a big reveal, or something crazy is going to happen. But they didn't do that, and I'm not used to thrillers that feel like this, that feel like they're so drawn out. And I think, if they could hook me a little bit quicker, I think, I've talked to some folks before about their experiences with new TV shows and new ideas for shows. And ultimately, a lot of folks kind of go on the notion of, if I'm not hooked in the first 20 minutes, I'm usually out. And that's a lot of people. I mean, we're talking about, especially if we look at a younger generation, we're talking about the TikTok generation. They spend 5 seconds on a video before they swipe to the next one. So, like, you need to have that thing. And I don't know if what they did in this show to kick it off was enough to really pull me in. And I anticipated the show to feel a little more balanced in both its progression and its reveals. And it really, it isn't. And when we finally do move forward with reveal, it's not that shocking and it's not that satisfying. And I find that oftentimes, to sort of pad out the episodes, they kept going back to things that we'd already seen. And I was pulling my hair out being like, we know this already. Why am I going back and spending 5 more minutes when all the characters on screen already know what's going on? And why are we revisiting it? It was really frustrating to watch.
Yeah. I think you said it best there. I think the misbalance of progress in the story and reveals, it was just sloppy.
Yeah.
And the entire time I was watching the show, too, I was wondering, like, who is this for? Like, who's the audience?
Right.
If you're, let's say, into a murder mystery whodunit, maybe this is that type of show, but not really at the same time. It's just a mystery.
Yeah.
And it's not a great mystery, I have to say. It wasn't compelling. And the way that the reveals happen and things are shared, it didn't really work for me. And it just serves more as proof that this series could have been significantly shorter.
I do think, like, going back to the visuals, they do play with some visually interesting ideas, where Sophie, at times she fantasizes seeing things come to life in front of her, or she sees someone from her past in, like, a really scary and traumatic way. And those moments, they actually woke me up a little bit. They hit for me. They actually got to me. I was like, okay, that's cool. But I wanted them to keep doing that. I thought, the most visually interesting things they do in the show are done in the intro. Like, when they do the opening credits, and first time I saw them, I'm like, okay, we're seeing Sophie in the ocean, sitting on the water, waves crashing, the use of reflections on watery surfaces. I thought they could have played with that so much more to really give us, like, almost sometimes like where some shows, like, I know, like, Mr. Robot at times would do, like, really freaky things where you're just like, what the heck is going on? Or I remember there's a show called Legion on FX. Those shows do very, really interesting visual things that play with the sort of the mind of both the viewer and the main character. And I thought they could have really done that and used that to kind of keep us guessing at what's actually happening on the screen in front of us. And they just don't. They just don't do it. And it's like, what am I watching? Yeah.
Especially with a story that it revolves around someone with a serious memory loss.
Yeah.
Like, that has the tellings for a great story and some great visual treatment, kind of lean into that, embrace that as part of the story as part of the storytelling element. I think, we've said it countless times on this podcast about various trailers and other movies that feel like they're trying their best to be something that they're not without fully committing to anything. And very much a lot of the visuals that you described take place in one episode,
right?
And it's like, we could have used more of that sprinkled throughout the rest of these 8 episodes to help give something more to these episodes, so that they didn't necessarily feel so overly stretched out.
Absolutely.
I think inevitably they decided to play it safe. I like what they're trying to do, or what the story is revolving around. It's just how it's executed, and as you said, pacing and the reveals just not balanced properly.
And I do also feel like, again, as I was saying earlier, the show deals with some really heavy themes of suicide, of memory loss, of trauma, and dealing with that
identity,
but it doesn't. It, like you said, it dips its toes into all of those things, but it
doesn't
never
go full-fledged.
It never goes beyond the surface, if you will, right? So right. So I mean, again, I'm kidding, but like it's one of those things where I'm just like, commit to something, commit to at least one of these things. And I think it did commit to one thing, which was probably my least favorite aspect of the show, which is like this sort of, as the description says, this love triangle that comes up. And it's just, it spends so much time with that when the entire time, every time it would sort of lean in one way or the other and focus on it. I just didn't care enough. I cared so much more about Sophie and her experience rather than this like love triangle. So I don't know. As a viewer over the 8 episodes we watched, I just wasn't sure what I'm supposed to like take away from the story. And I don't know. Let's get to our final thoughts here. We're going to be rating it on a scale of 1 to 5 waves. Justin.
Yeah, I think, again, just I'm going to be reiterating what I've already said. This does have a stacked cast, great cinematography, great production design, shot in San Francisco. It looks really top tier, but this is all on the surface, because underneath it all, it's very flat. It's not as fleshed out. There is some compelling, very interesting narrative elements that are at play with memory loss and, as you were pointing out, things about identity and suicide and understanding oneself and in the framework of love as well. These are all really interesting things, but like you were saying, it never goes full-fledged with any of them. It's got a mixed bag of all of this, and it creates a very convoluted, overly stretched series that I as you said, I don't know what the takeaway is, and I don't know who this is for. If you're someone who's into, a mystery, then maybe you'll enjoy this. I do think, again, this is no discredit to the acting, and especially from Gugu Mbatha-Raw. Like, I love her. I think she's so great. But again, I think she did the best she could with what the story gave her. I think she leaned into it really, really well. All of the other casts were very supporting in their roles, and they were fine, but I didn't feel anything for them. I did feel something for Sophie and wanting for her to, just figure out what the fuck was going on.
Right.
But again, at the end, it didn't really matter. So all this to say, 8 episodes, it's a long haul. I'm going to be giving this a 2.5 out of 5 waves.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I love swimming. But this felt like I was promised that we were going to go scuba diving, and then I ended up going to the local pool. I guess it's still swimming, but like, it's a pool. It's flat. It's gray. I love a good mystery. I need a better payoff, and I need a quicker pace to hook me throughout. I was bored most of the time, and I kept hoping the show would intrigue me more and more, because I love Gugu Mbatha-Raw. I love the morning show, and I love her performance in both that series. And I think in this one, she does a good job, again, as we said, with what she has, but where she had some incredible talent to work with in the morning show, she just outshines the rest of the cast here, and it's really misbalanced, and I just didn't find any of their relationships compelling. I kept getting taken out of the show whenever she wasn't on screen. Like, I just kept, like, as soon as they cut to another character, I was like, I don't care. I really don't care what you're going through right now, because I'd rather see what Sophie's going through. Again, as I said, I was hoping I would enjoy this more. I can't say that I'm looking forward to, if they do a second season, I'm not looking forward to it. So I'm going to give Surface also a 2.5 out of 5 waves. It did not make waves for me. So that's about it. That's it for this review. We hope you enjoyed this spoiler-free review for Surface. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or any of the shows we cover, Justin, can you let our listeners know where they can swim out to reach us?
Why, of course. They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, including our spoiler-free review for Netflix's The Gray Man. We also have from Disney Plus, Only Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episodes 1 to 6. And we also have our spoiler-free and filled reviews for Thor, Love, and Thunder. We have some great interviews as well out now, including our latest one where Justin interviewed Obi-Wan Kenobi's director, Deborah Chow, and Anakin Skywalker himself, Hayden Christensen, which was pretty wild. Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, we just wrapped 2 watch clubs, one for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the other for Miss Marvel. If you don't know what a watch club is, every week we break down our thoughts and theories coinciding with each episode. So if you've yet to watch those shows and you want to watch them and then tune into each of our episodes, I promise you'll have a great time, and you'll be able to, if you've already watched the show and you want to come back and watch and listen to these episodes, you'll be able to hear how wrong we were about a lot of our theories for these shows, especially Miss Marvel. And finally, we have our weekly This Week in Geek episodes every single Wednesday, where we bring you the latest news and trailer reactions. With our latest episode where Justin, Megan, and I, we actually covered every major announcement from Marvel at SDCC, where we discussed the Marvel Animation Panel in one episode, and then another episode, Justin and I broke down all of the Hall H announcements from Marvel, including the announcement of the Multiverse Saga, and we give our reaction to the She-Hulk and Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailers. So definitely go give those episodes a listen. I'm still getting chills from the trailer for Wakanda Forever.
I haven't stopped watching that trailer.
I just want the mix.
I watched it 3 times.
I want the song.
Yeah, I
release the song, please. But yes, go give those episodes a listen and a 5-star review if you don't mind. All right, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this review. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.